What's up everyone, this is Coaster Visuals and we're back with another review. Today we're going to be reviewing Taron, which is another coaster that I got to ride on my 2023 Europe trip. It's located at Phantasialand in Brühl, Germany, and it's a really fantastic ride, and it's definitely one that exceeded my expectations. I wasn't expecting to love this coaster. It didn't look like it had a ton of big elements, which is kind of the thing that I look for in roller coasters, like big sustained elements. But this ride had a really unique feel to it, and it has great pacing, some really fun launches, some nice twisted airtime, and overall impressed me, and I had a lot of fun on this coaster. So I want to share all my thoughts on it, talk about all the pros, a few cons, and just overall why this is a great experience, and I would definitely recommend this coaster. So let's start with the first, kind of the first impression. When you walk into the area, it's in its own themed area called Klugheim. And this coaster looks amazing as you approach it because there's just track twisting everywhere. And it allows for so many cool different picture opportunities. There's points where you're like walking on the pathway up to the coaster and you feel so close to the track. And the way they were able to fit this ride in the immersive area like that really makes it and sets it apart from some other rides in terms of presentation. So there's just so many different places to see this coaster, and it just gives so much energy to the area, which I think is fantastic. So I pretty much used the single rider line for most of my rides on this, so I didn't have to wait more than like 10 or 15 minutes. I had a lot of different rides to ride at Phantasialand, but I was able to manage 8 different rides on Taron. I got to ride in the front, I got to ride in the back. My favorite seat was probably the front because of the unobstructed view and the wind, and just the feeling you get on the launches going that fast and accelerating is awesome in the front row. So once you get into the station, you pick your seat, you sit down in the trains. They have a really nice like battering ram, kind of like front car on the front of it, which is really cool. The restraints are the typical new gen intamin lap bars. Again, no seat belts, so really quick dispatches. It is the elevated seating, so the same as how Batman Gotham City Escape is, which I really like, because being positioned higher off the ground like that really like accentuates the forces and the open feeling of the lap bars that you already have, so I really like that part about it. So you get the dispatch, and you make a turn out of the station, and this dramatic music starts playing, and then you hit like an LSM holding section before you take off, and the music like intensifies, and then you take off down your first launch. Now, this was a good launch, but I didn't think it was as intense as some other ones found on Intamin LSM coasters. I feel like the ones on Tutatis and Batman were definitely better than this. But it's still a solid launch, and it takes you to a pretty good top speed, or pretty good speed, and then you make your way around an overbank, which doesn't have a ton of force, but it's just really fast, and you get some nice visuals of the rockwork as you go through this element. You then hit my favorite part of the ride, which is this nice sustained airtime hill. This had like flow ejector, maybe like borderline ejector air, which turned into laterals as you went downward, and I really liked that, so that was a great element. It's followed by another twisting airtime hill. This one is very abrupt and offers a nice jolt of ejector airtime mixed with laterals as you go through this element. It's really snappy and fast. You then go around a nice turn, and then you hit a series of these like twisting left to the right moments as you're going through these buildings, which doesn't have too much force here, but again, like the near misses and just flying through the buildings and the environment and the themed area that this coaster has is really cool and definitely makes it. So you do a few more twists, and then you do a little S-bend section, and you coast down around, and again, not too much force here, but you get a little bit of side-to-side lateral moments. And then you hit the second launch, and this is definitely one of the best parts of the ride. This launch is a rolling launch, so it's a lot more intense than the first one. And it takes you up to the top speed, which I believe is about 73 miles per hour. Actually, 72.7 miles per hour. I was close, though. So yeah, the launch takes you up to that speed, and it also, I believe it's just the highest point of the attraction, which is 98 feet. And you get some really nice force on this turn upward after the launch, and I believe more so on the left side you can even get like a little bit of spray of water from this waterfall, so that was definitely a surprise I was not expecting. And then you reach the top of this turn, and you hit this sort of like slalom, sort of twisty section where it snaps back and forth as you're like heading down. It almost reminds me of skiing. I really like this section, and you get some nice laterals side to side, and overall I thought this was one of my favorite parts of the ride. You also get an absolutely amazing view of the area at this point when you start twisting downwards. And I really kept finding myself just taking a moment to kind of look around at the sights as we were going along on this coaster, because it's one of those rides, it's really fun and engaging, but a big part of it is just the environment that you're in and the themed area that you're going around. So I found myself just looking all around at this area as we were going through the coaster, which I thought was interesting. So yeah, you make your way down through some S-bends, and then you do a turn, and you sort of like bank upwards and then down. And then you hit an S-hill, which has great ejector airtime mixed with some laterals, and I absolutely love this element. It's really fast, it's intense, and it's a great, fun airtime moment. And then next you hit another twisting hill. This one is more for laterals, but you get a nice snap as you get to the top of it. And I liked this element as well. I think this is a good sequencing with the fast launch, and then like, you know, you got some twisty S moments, and then you got these like twisting airtime hills, and I just feel like this ride has really good pacing for the most part, so I really like that. Next you hit another bank turn, and then you snap to the right and hit one more turn upwards. And then you kind of like flatten out, and this is one part I didn't really love. It feels like you should kind of get airtime here, but you don't really get anything. And then you sort of dip downwards, and then you feel a brake kind of hit the train a little bit and slow it down, which is a little bit of a buzzkill, but you know, it's not a huge deal. And then you hit one more airtime moment, which gives nice like floater airtime as you drop down. And I liked this part. I thought this was a good way to end the ride. So then you drop back down, and you hit this last turn that feels a lot tighter than all of the other turns on the ride. It feels like they really had to cram this one in there. So you, this one has some good force to it too. And then you make your way around, and you snap up into the brake run. And yeah, that ends the ride. It's a very, very long ride. You know, it has two different distinct sections, and the whole thing just feels like a very long experience. It has a track length of 4,330 feet, and you could definitely tell that. So yeah, I really was impressed with this ride. I loved the way that it worked. It worked a thrilling ride into a themed area, like, amazingly. It kind of felt like if Disney was gonna take, like, a coaster and make it way more thrilling, but like still keep the theming. Like, that's kind of what they did here, you know. It has the thrills, and it also has the theming, and it balances those out perfectly, which I think is something that not many coasters can do. So that's something I really liked about Taron. So yeah, you get all these really nice intense turns and twisty moments, and you got a lot of airtime moments. And while this doesn't have as many like standout elements as something like Batman Gotham City Escape, it's a very different style of launch coaster, and I think it does what it does really well. So I was overall a big fan of this ride. It was my favorite coaster at Phantasialand. I definitely much prefer this to Fly. I think this does everything Fly does, but better. My score for this ride, I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10. I would say it's a 9 out of 10. You know, it's not as intense as some other rides that I would give a 10 out of 10 to, but that's not like a knock on this coaster. It's just a different style of ride. I would describe this not really as a super intense coaster, but more so just a really, really fun ride. It's enjoyable, it made me smile, it had a lot of fun moments, and it was very memorable, and I really hope I can ride it again at some point. So yeah, I would give Taron a 9 out of 10. Very good ride, not perfect, but, you know, it's close to being there. So I'm really happy I got to visit this park. I only got to spend one day at Phantasialand, but I really hope I can get back at some point again soon and ride this ride more and get on the rest of the coasters again. So yeah, that about does it. Those are my thoughts on Taron at Phantasialand. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more, and share the video, and I'll be posting a lot more coaster reviews soon. This is probably going to be my last video for a few weeks, as I'll be heading down to Florida soon, and then heading out to California. So, not gonna be able to post any of these long videos when I'm away, because I'm on my computer, but might do some smaller updates on my trips. So, stay tuned for those, and thank you for watching, and have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.